Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Awakening Nation. My name is Yogita Misfi, your host. And today I've got a really special guest called Baron David Ward. Should I call you Baron or should I call you David?
I don't really care. I do actually use the Baron in all the legal work that I do for a specific reason, and we can cover that in the narrative if you want to.
We will do. Okay, David, that's fine. This is a really, really important episode. So I really want you to put the time aside to watch this. If you haven't got time to watch it right now, save it in your playlist. And it's all about how the government do not have our consent for them to govern us. Yes, I said that right. Rewind it and listen to that again. David has evidence in the form of an unrebutted affidavit sent to 657 MPs, am I right?
657 MPs, yes.
Which started with a parking ticket back in 2013.
Yes.
From using their own language and their own procedures against them. He didn't actually challenge the ticket, he just used their own words, their own actions, whatever it stated on that ticket against them. He's gone to prove that at that point Warrington Council did not have his consent, and that then opened up a big, massive rabbit hole as to how the government do not have consent to govern us, which means we do not consent to acts and statutes, which means that they do not apply to us because they don't have consent. This is a really important episode. If it doesn't sink in straight away, just watch it again, but please do take the time to watch this. Welcome, David. Thank you so much for giving up some of your time this lovely Friday morning. Nice and sunny here in Birmingham. Is it nice and sunny up in Warrington?
Say again?
I said it's nice and sunny down here in Birmingham. Is it nice and sunny up in Warrington?
Birmingham. I'm not in Birmingham.
No, I'm in Birmingham. You're in Warrington.
Oh, well, I was in Warrington. I grew up in Warrington. I spent all my life in Warrington.
Right.
The address that you see on those documents that you're going to read, that was where I lived until they stole my house.
Right.
If you go against the government hard like I did, there's going to be retaliation, and they're going to take your house. I knew that. I'll tell you when I knew that. I knew that the day I was sat there, because of my previous, you go down the black rabbit hole. It's a big place. It's a dark place. It's a horrible place. You don't come back the same. But I knew enough at that point in time, when I'm sat at my computer, filling in those forms for the tribunal and Warrington Borough Council, with the information and knowledge that I had, that I knew nobody else on the planet had, that they would eventually come and take my house.
Okay. Let's go back. Let's take everybody back who's watching. How did this journey start for you? Because you don't just land on this knowledge. It's a journey. Where did your journey start?
Where does it really start? It really starts back in 2009, I think. You're talking, or it might even be 2008. You're talking 4 or 5 years before 2013, when I actually won that case at the tribunal on the parking ticket. And that was an altercation with the taxman, believe it or not. I'm a computer engineer. I am Microsoft. I am fully certified. I build your server racks and your computers, your desktops and your laptops. Everything in that world, I know. Because Microsoft, believe it or not, when they train you, when you take them exams, they are absolutely ruthless. And a pass mark, just a pass mark, is 96%. And these exams are intelligence exams. If you get one question wrong, it will cane you on that subject, yeah, on that part of that exam. It's a proactive, reactive examination. So I've been Microsoft certified since 1999. In 2007, I'd come to the end of a long project and with Barclays. We'd done a 5,000 laptop rollout for their home working staff. In 2000, it's got to be 2008, I'd done an online end of year self-assessment. Now, I'm attention to detail on things like that, for me, it's second nature. I don't make mistakes because it's computers, and you don't make mistakes on computers. So I'd done this end of year self-assessment. I hadn't realised I'd made a mistake. And it turns out that I hadn't made a mistake, but it looked like I made a mistake. And the taxman had sent me almost £7,000 back in tax. So all of a sudden one day, I'm not working. I'm taking a year out to study for the CCNA, another qualification, which is a sidestep from Microsoft, which is in networking. It's a very difficult subject to get your head around. And the people that do that are absolutely wacko, because CCNA is like something else off this planet. And so I'd done this end of year self-assessment, and all of a sudden one day on my bank statement, there's this like nearly £7,000 that's coming to my bank account, and all it's got next to it is SA. I thought, who's SA? Someone's going to scream for that. So you take it out your bank account, you put it in your savings account, you put it safe, and you keep looking at this statement, and you keep looking at this statement. Oh, SA, self-assessment. The tax man sent me some money back from that big contract. Happy days. There is a God. And I was green as I didn't know a damn thing. Absolute nothing. I was as asleep as you can get. Okay? And so I realised it was some tax back. So you take it out your savings account, you put it in your bank account, and you pay off your debit cards, your debts, you pay your bill, and it's gone. The money's gone because you spent it. You paid your bills, you paid your credit cards, you just paid it because you've got it. You spent yeah. I didn't waste it, you know. I'm not working. I'm not claiming unemployment. I'm studying. So you know, you are thrifty with your money when you're not working. So, but it's gone. And then I get a letter from the taxman saying, and it's a strange word that they use, there seems to be an inexactness in your end of year self-assessment. Send us your P60 and your wage slips. And then the letter carried on saying, and if you've got to give it us back, then you've got to give it us back. And if you don't give it us back, you're going to jail. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to jail. Where am I going to get £7,000 from? I'm going to. So I got my P60 and I got my and the wage slips, and I wrote him a nice letter. Dear Mr. Taxman, what was his name? I'll tell you his name. No, I'll tell you his name in a minute. I'll come back to me. Dear Mr. Taxman, thank you for your letter. We wish to assist in any way which we can. You know, it was a very polite letter. Please find enclosed the P60 and the wage slips. But we do not. Your remaining correspondence has caused us some distress about us going to jail. We cannot log back into your portal. We've got no visibility of what you're talking about. So send me what you're talking about. Give me, basically send me the evidence. Yeah. And you put that letter in the post, and you don't think about it. And weeks go by, and then you get a letter. And what they sent me was a screenshot of the computer. Now, I'm an engineer. I know what a screenshot is. And it's got the start bar, and it's Windows XP. And it's got the SQL database stuff at the top. I know what SQL is, because it's SQL database. And then in the middle of the screen, it's got the two numbers that are filled in for the end of year self-assessment, which is how much money you'd earned, that's your gross, and how much tax you paid for that time period. And I'd put the same number in twice. I nearly died, because at that point I've made a mistake, and now I've got to find £7,000. So I'm writing back to Mr. Taxman in absolute fear, and I'm saying, you put this in my bank account. Yeah, you've got to take some responsibility for it. You put this in my bank account. And they wrote back and they said something very, very important, that it says HM Revenue and Customs policy. Now, if you read the policy, in their language, that is law. They cannot, they've got to comply with that policy. It is HM Revenue and Customs policy to refund your tax and then argue about it later. I thought, that's a slide, you being a scabby there. There's something going on, you know, the bullshit alarm's going off in your head, but you don't know what it is. And you keep picking up this piece of paper. It's like self-torture, because you keep picking up this piece of paper and picking up this piece of paper. And then I realised what was wrong with this piece of paper, because you're not a technical geek person, computer systems geek, but you will have filled in some form online, yeah? And if you fill in part of that form wrong or incorrectly, and when you click on next, it goes back to what you've done wrong with a red ring round it or a red box round it saying, fix that. So you fix that before you click next. Now, from a technical standpoint, being the computer geek, I understand why they've got to do that. They've got to lock down these boxes clinically, because if it's unquantified, yeah, an unquantified box, you can put 256 characters in it. And if you're not quantified, whether it's money or numbers, or whether it's words, characters, then you can put machine code in that box. Mm-hmm. And when you click on next, if it's not secured, then kiss your server goodbye, kiss your hard drive goodbye, because machine code will talk straight to the CPU and wipe the hard drive. Really dangerous stuff. So the light went on. You've screwed up your website. This website's screwed up. So now I'm writing back to Mr. Tackman saying, Sonny boy, you've got a technical problem here with your website, you know. Bit of gloating going on, I'm bartering with this guy. I want him to take at least 50% responsibility.
Yeah.
For screwing up their website. This is a big issue. This is a government website. It's the Inland Revenue, HM Revenue and Customs, and it's their website. And they've cocked up. They've cocked up big. Yeah. Because I should not be able to put the same number in twice.
No.
Yeah, that should have not gone through.
No.
And they wrote back to me and they said, you have a statutory obligation to pay your tax. I thought, okay, what the fuck? Excuse the French.
That's fine.
What does that mean? I've been a contractor in 3 professions. You know, I started out life as a pipe fitter welder. I was a contractor. I've been into electronics. I'm an electronics engineer. I'm electronics qualified. Moved into computers, which is more contracting work. You're diving around all over the country. So I've read many contracts. I know what contracts are, and I always read the contracts before I sign them.
Yeah.
I'm what people might call anal retentive in detail. And if there's something wrong with that contract, I ain't going to sign it. Because it's serious, yeah?
Mm.
So I know exactly what a contractual obligation is, but I haven't got a clue what a statutory obligation is. So now I've got to find out, what does that mean?
Ah, okay.
So how do you find out what that means? Well, you look in the dictionaries, and none of the dictionaries make any sense. It's like gobbledygook.
Yeah.
So you do the Oxford English Dictionary. It just doesn't add up. So then you do the etymology of the word. Well, the etymology of the word comes from the Latin. The Latin for statutory is statutus. A statutus in English is a statue, an object, yeah, a thing. So then you put that statue back into context, a statue obligation. Well, that's an oxymoron. It doesn't make sense again. Yeah. So I'm coming up with jibber jabber. There's jibber jabber coming out everywhere. So then I looked in the law dictionaries. You know, I've heard of Black's Law Dictionary, but that's American. So you look in the Black's Law Dictionary, but then you find 3 UK dictionaries of law dictionary.
What's the equivalent of Black's Law in the English? Is it Hansard or something like that?
It's probably Hansard. I can't actually remember. We're going back 10 years now. I can't remember
No
the
worries. That's fine.
that I actually read, and there's a slight variation in the context, but they all said the same thing. It's something along the lines of that a statute is a legislative rule of society given force of law by the power of by the consent of the government. So there'd be a word difference in each one, slight, but they all said the same thing. So all I did, being the geek, is I took all 4 references, eliminated the obfuscation, condensed it down to being exact and perfect, which is a statute is a legislative rule given force of law by the consent of the governed, because that word by creates a dependency which must be fulfilled. That's computer language, that's Boolean grammar. And people think of Boolean logic as mathematics. Well, it's not, it's grammar. You've got and, or, if, then, less than, greater than, equal to, by. You know, all these words are in English grammar are called adjoining words.
Mm-hmm.
That's Boolean. That's Boolean logic. And that's exactly what we do with computers. Because if it's an if-then statement, if this, then do that.
Yeah.
An if statement, if and then, is Boolean.
Yeah. The by is, so it has to create some sort of a, like an end determination in order for that to exist. Yeah, I totally understand. I totally get it.
If x equals z, then y is something else. Yeah. It's an if-then statement.
Yeah.
So these words, like by, that creates a dependency that must be fulfilled. So now I'm writing back to Mr. Taxman. Got you by the balls now, sunshine. Because no one in this country has ever signed that legal consent, and you've got to present me with that material evidence in facts. Yagga-dagga-ding, yagga-dagga-ding, yagga-dagga-ding. Boosh, send that letter away to the taxman. Well, the taxman's not having any of that. Then he starts legal proceedings in the Northampton County Court Bulk Clearance Centre. It's not called a Bulk Clearance Centre anymore. And now I've got a court case on my hands. Oh my God, they're going to send me to jail. They're not giving up that easily. So I thought, right, here we go. I don't know who this who this guy is, who the judge is. I don't know who the clerk of the justice is. I don't know. But I've had time to do some studying by this point, so I know a bit. Because the weeks and the months have gone by, and my head's gone down a rabbit hole, and I'm studying law like you would expect someone to study law, yeah? And not coming up with anything great and fantastic, to be honest with you. Because you're finding the common law, and you're finding the Magna Carta, and you're finding the UCC, you're finding all sorts of jibber-jabber rubbish. But I know I need to write to, before the case hearing there is, I need to write to the Clerk of the Justice, and I'm going to copy in the Lord Chief Justice, because the Lord Chief Justice has now got a problem, because without the consent of the governed, then the legislative rule cannot be given force of law, and he's the boss man. So I copied in the Lord Chief Justice, and this was in 2009. The Lord Chief Justice in 2009 was, if memory serves, the Lord Chief Justice Sir Jack Beakston, FBA.
Oh, that's in here.
That's in there as well, because the previous year, but I didn't know at that time, I didn't find that until a couple of years later, that actual context, what you're reading in that Exhibit C, later. So I copied in the Lord Chief Justice, and I sent this letter to the clerk of the court, you know, about the problem they've got, yada yada ding, and I'm going to fight them. I'm going to fight you, yeah? I ain't taking this crap from nobody, because I've got $7,000, so I've got to fight you.
Yeah.
Anyway, time goes on, and then you discover that the Bulk Clearance Centre is not the Northampton County Court. It's just in the same building. And the Bulk Clearance Centre is HM Revenue and Customs Tax Office.
Right.
So there is no court case. There is no case in the court. It just looks like there's a case in the court. and it's all bullshit because it's the bulk clearance centre, and that is not a court.
No.
So it's one of them. Rip it up. Fuck you. Have a nice day. Because you're done at that point. As soon as I realise this is a fake case, I don't care anymore. Because you can't send me to jail with a fake case in a fake office with fake paperwork. You're done. Taxman, I'm not going to jail. Fuck you. Yeah? So, yeah. So at that point, I know I'm onto a little gold mine, a nugget of a gem, because I've spent some serious time doing some serious research in what everybody else is doing. You know, I'm all over the internet. I'm listening to all the videos on YouTube. Back in 2008, 2000, there was no Facebook.
No.
So there was none of that anyway. It's whatever you can find. And then you find people like John Harris.
Yeah, yeah.
John Harris is a legend.
Yes, wasn't he?
Because he did the most amazing thing, and that's put the facts up on a big screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Facts. This guy's working with facts. I like facts. This is a fact. I'm the only guy on the planet that knows this fact, and I've got to do something with that fact at some point in time.
So is that how you learned about, because in fact, I watched one of John Harris's videos only a few months ago, because my journey's, a lot newer than yours. It's only a few months old, and that was one of the first videos I watched. It's an illusion, and he's doing a conference, and he's talking about the registration, how everything you register doesn't belong to you, your birth certificate, the cars, and I was floored. Is that how you discovered that the government is basically a fiction?
I'm listening to the same thing that you're listening to. I'm listening to the common law people. I'm listening to the Magna Carta people. I'm listening to the freemen on the land people. Now, a lot of what they're saying doesn't add up, doesn't make sense, but I'm a guy that looks for results. Where are these people getting the results? They're giving a lot of talk, but they're not giving any results. They're not showing any results. They're not getting them wins in the court. There's something there not working. If there's something there that's not working, it's not right. I'm an engineer, okay? I was a fabricator. Well, I could strip an engine down at 16, your car engine. Strip it down, rebuild it, put it back together again with all new parts. An engineer has got to see a result that works at the end of the day. And if you've not got a result that works at the end of the day, you're not an engineer. This is how we are. And if you can't produce that results that work at the end of the day, you're not going to get past lunchtime in a new contract. You're going to get blown out through the door. You've got to be a good engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So we actually live by what's called a 6 Ps. It's called pre-production preparation, prevents piss poor performance.
I knew you were going to say that. I've heard that before.
You heard that before, yeah. In other words, you've got to know your shit before you start the job. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a pile of crap.
So what happened with this, just going back to that tax thing? So you obviously got this court thing, you realised it was all fake. What happened?
Well, that's just it. What can you do? They've hit me with a fake case. There's no court case. There is no court case that they can proceed with. I've blown out the water with my response anyway, and that's just it. It went dead in the water.
Oh, you never heard back from them?
Well, no, they keep sending me every month, every few months, they keep sending me another fine. They keep adding fines because
okay.
So they keep adding fines on top of the $7 grand. Well, that's all they can do because they can't take me to court. They don't take people to court. The Inland Revenue has an obligation, as a policy, to return your tax. Right. Now, after I'd won the case with a traffic ticket, I went back to HM Revenue and Customs because now I've got a document. It's not the affidavit, but I've got the actual case file. It's like one of them. So logged in back into the portal, logged back into the end of year self-assessment, filled in all the forms. You've got a place where you can add some commentary. You've got a place where you can upload a file.
Yeah.
So I've uploaded the file. I've uploaded the case file, and I put a commentary saying, "Got you by the balls here, sunshine. You've got to pay me not just the PAYE tax, all the tax, because your guy said so."
Yeah.
And it wasn't Timothy Day. What's his name? I can't remember his name. That it's your policy to pay back the tax, yeah, but it does not specify PAYE. So it's all the tax, and the tax is 85% of your gross.
Yes. Yes.
So I put a claim in for tax back. So my new end of year self-assessment was, what is your taxable income? Well, that's zero. I won't have a taxable income. I've got no obligations or liability to pay tax. Right, so how much tax have you paid? £999,999. £1 short of £1 million. And then I said, and I'm coming back for the rest when I've spoken to my accountants. Yeah?
Yeah.
So I didn't get any response back from that. I want to give them my bank account details like I did before.
When did you realise that the government was without the government doesn't have consent? Was it before the parking ticket incident? Was it during that? Was it just trying to kind of fit together the pieces of how your understanding grew? Obviously, you didn't challenge that ticket. You knew what you were doing with that ticket, right? You had a parking ticket in 2013.
That's right.
Which you didn't challenge. You just, because I've got all the paperwork here. You didn't. Yeah, talk me through that. Because did you know at that point that we do not have consent? So did you know that?
Yes, because I discovered that with a taxman back in 2009.
Okay.
The consent of governed is a mandatory requirement before the legislative rule can be given force of law.
Which means we need our signature on something. We need to have a signature to say, yes, Mr. or Mrs. whoever you are, you have the right to govern me, whether it's my local council, whether it's the person acting as Prime Minister. They don't have my consent, but they have tacit agreement. Is there such thing as tacit agreement?
It's got to be a physical document that you, okay.
Yeah, because they're a corporation. Because they're a corporation. Is that correct?
Because they're a corporation. Think about the dentist. Right, you go to the dentist, you pick up a pen, and you sign a consent.
Yeah.
And you do it at the doctors as well. You sign a consent. Now, if you don't sign that consent at the dentist, you're not going to get any dental treatment. You're not going to get to see the dentist. You've got to sign that legal consent because the dentist needs that in his filing cabinet before he can touch you.
Yeah.
Because it's criminal assault.
Yeah.
Right. So, in the UK, people go to the dentist. I've been to the dentist. There is filing cabinets all over the UK, loaded down with documents which are signed and legal consents. So there's got to be, well, in 2013, the populace of the UK was 63.5 million people. So there's got to be 63.5 million signed legal documents giving your consent agreement, agreeing to be governed before there can be a government.
And doesn't this apply in every country?
Hey?
Doesn't this apply in every country? Because there's probably people watching who are not from the UK. Does this apply in America, Australia? Does this apply
in every country? Every single country where there's a government, an elected government, right, I won that case, so the election is void. Any general election to elect a government, because I won that case, it's void. So why is the election void? Well, why is it not void? How do we unelect people? These people...
We can't.
Exactly, there's no unelection process. You don't know what it is. 63.5 million people don't know what it is. No one on the planet knows what the unelection process is because it doesn't exist. That very fact alone invalidates and makes the election void and illegal because we can't fire them. They work for us. We need a means to fire them.
Yes, because I think it's at the end of the day, not England, I beg your pardon, the United Kingdom Corporation is a corporation who are not adhering to, let me just look in your affidavit, it's the corporation law, isn't it, 2006? And if there's a corporation, there needs to be, I'm just looking through this right now, I should have put post-it notes on it. There needs to be a contract. Here we go. It says there needs to be a common seal, a signature with the director of the company, something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing that. Is that where we can kind of get them? Is that?
Are you talking about the Companies Act 2006, Section 44?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually an act. You can look that up. I actually put that in the affidavit specifically because no one's agreed to the acts and statutes.
No.
Right, I'm putting that in an affidavit. I'm putting it in an affidavit deliberately because I'm sending that to 657 MPs. Yeah, because the results of them not being able to contest or prove me wrong, the legal context, the legal part of an affidavit is when they cannot or have not redressed or proven you wrong, then you've got 657 agreements. So I needed to put that back into the affidavit so that there is 657 agreements
Yeah.
to the Companies Act 2006 where it's got to be signed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and that's how you approached, that's how you approached the parking ticket thing, because basically they were quoting Traffic Management Act 2004, Section 82, but you hadn't consented to that. And plus they sent it, and I recognise that straight away, notice to owner. You're not even the owner of the vehicle.
I am the owner of the vehicle.
DVLA are, you're the registered keeper.
No, they don't own the vehicle because they've not got the bill of exchange. They've not got receipt for the cash.
Ah, okay. Oh, maybe I'm getting that wrong in my understanding then.
They only claim title to the V5.
Okay.
Yeah? You can't claim title to the vehicle because I paid for the vehicle.
Okay.
I've got a receipt for the vehicle.
Okay.
I've got documents of exchange of funds.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
That is my vehicle. That title of that vehicle is mine. But they changed the legislation. Crikey, when was that? I was like in my early 20s because you had to send all your logbooks away and get a new logbook back with this change. Instead of being the owner of the vehicle, the registered owner of the vehicle, they changed the wording to the registered keeper of the vehicle.
So who owns the vehicle then?
Hey?
So who owns it then? Because it was my understanding that if you register anything you register, you don't really own. That was my understanding. Am I thinking in the wrong way?
This is all the freeman on the land jibber jabber. You know, the freeman on the land will say that the straw man, Mr. David Ward, is owned by the state. It's owned by the crown. It's owned by the government. And therefore, anything registered at birth is owned, and they own title to it. And that's why they changed the V5 so that they own it. No, they don't own it unless they've got the bill of exchange, the receipt for the cash. That is the title to the vehicle. And that is fraud because they changed their document.
Okay.
Yeah? So they don't own the vehicle. They do not have the legal right to crush your vehicle if it's not taxed. They can't steal it and take it. They claim that they can, but no, they can't.
Right. Okay. You did this was back in 2013 with the parking ticket. Basically, they wrote back to you, got it all here, and they said there is no contest, there is no effective contest to the presentation. They didn't actually. You wrote all the points down. They didn't contest any of it. They just kept writing back in the same way, didn't they? They didn't contest any of your points. So that meant they were tacitly agreeing to what you were saying.
No, that's a legal agreement. When they come back with that, no, that's a signed document.
Okay.
You know, if you look at the end of the tribunal.
Yeah. Well, the adjudicator's decision, that one.
The adjudicator's decision, yeah?
Yeah.
All that says is the appropriate person in the adjudicator, well, that could be anyone. That could be the janitor, has written to me, or not written to me, but sent a PDF file. You know, it came by email, so it's a PDF, and it is unsigned. And it's like a notice notifying me that the adjudicator determined that the appellants had no liability to pay the PCN.
Yeah, it says that here, yeah.
So that is a win. But the actual documents itself, because it's not signed and it's got no one's name on it.
No, it hasn't.
Completely, absolutely useless from any legal standpoint. Now, knowing for the fact that I've got a massive win there on a global context in every country, I was fuming. You've never seen rage that went through me on that day, because I've been fucking screwed at that point. I've won the case, but they've still screwed me. So all I've saved is 35 quid or 70 quid parking ticket. Big deal. And that is a big event. You know, the consent of the government is therefore giving justification that that document has got to be signed.
Yes.
Because that is the merits and the backbone of the case.
Yes.
I didn't challenge the ticket, the parking ticket.
No, you didn't.
Challenge the act. I challenged the foundation of government and the fact that no one signed that legal agreement, because a consent is an agreement. Yeah?
That's right. That's right. I mean, putting that, in fact, can you just explain, because I understand this, but people listening might not understand, because you kind of made the distinction that the government is pretty much like a McDonald's. Can you just make that distinction for people watching? Because I understand how it works as a corporation, but can you just explain that for everybody watching?
Let me finish off the actual tribunal case first, because
that
letter that you've got that you can see that's signed by the government from the Warrington Borough Council.
Yeah.
That actually came through the door the next day.
Yeah, I can see that. It came through the door. Right, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Now that's a signed and legal document, and that's a legal declaration of no contest. That is the document that screws up every government on the planet, because it's signed.
Did they know what they were doing at this point?
They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Which brings us back to the Shadrach Cathutas PhD and the Lord Chief Justice in 2008, which is where you were going, yeah? I'd already read the... it just popped up on, I can't even remember, someone gave me a link to something, and I clicked on the link, or I'd found this link, and I'm reading this document. And the document I'm reading is the Lord Chief Justice Sir Jack Beatson's speech in 2008. 2008, okay? That's clear. You've got to remember that year, 2008, because that's 5 years before I won the case. And this brain, there's a modus operandi, a method of operation that the government use. They'll give a speech like that speech, or they'll write something, and there'll be one critically important point, and the rest will be absolute jibber jabber. It will be contextually in conjunction with something of interest in some way, but it's out of context with that one part. Yeah? So I'm halfway through reading this document, and my brain has known it's seen something, and I thought, the Lord Chief Justice has gone to the Nottingham-on-Trent Law University to give this speech. Why is he giving this speech? It's a jibber-jabber speech. Why is he there? This isn't adding up. And the brain said, go back and read the beginning, monkey boy, because that's what happens. I don't know why that works. It just does. So you start reading again from the bottom, and then it slaps you up the side of the head. That the Lord Chief Justice stated that, due to the change in 2003, it became necessary to reevaluate the relationship between the judiciary and the two stronger branches of the state. I thought, wow, because up until reading that and that date on that time in 2008, prior to that, for the previous 800 years, the judiciary have maintained absolutely that there is no, they are independent from the government. Yeah? They are independent from the government. Therefore, there's no conflict of interest. Because if there's a conflict of interest, the judge can't be a judge.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the Lord Chief Justice has confirmed the fact that there's a conflict of interest. And the judge can't be a judge because it's a sub-office to the government, to the states. I thought, right, now I need a definition of the word states. And that's when I found Shadrach Cathutas PhD, also in 2008, giving that legal definition of the word states.
Can you explain what that is to everybody?
A state is a company. It's a corporate entity, no different to McDonald's. It's another straw man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So David Ward, the straw man, won the case above the state, and the judge is a janitor to that state because he's in the sub office.
Yeah.
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 And a state is a company no different to McDonald's. So a state is a company no different to McDonald's. So the judge is McDonald's janitor. So he's got no fucking authority.
I understand that completely. I understand that completely, and I think the penny's dropped with me, and I think anybody watching, the penny just has to drop that. You know, we're living in a for-profit business, and I totally get it. It's like Bojo is, you know, the manager of McDonald's, basically telling you what to do. It's like McDonald's having a rule of taking out loads of rules and saying you've got to live by these rules. You'd say, oh, goodbye, sorry.
No. We haven't agreed to your contract. We haven't agreed to your rules. We haven't agreed by signing the legal consent agreement. Exactly. So all your rules, all your 8 million acts and statutes are now going in the bin.
Exactly. So if we kind of bring that to today and what's happening today, they're rolling all these acts and statutes out without even debates.
No. They got rid of, you know, when it said that, Jack Beatson said, due to the changes in 2003, you know what that was relating to?
What was that relating to? I don't know.
Prior to, and in 2003, because that's 2003 to 2008, yeah? That was when the Prime Minister was, well, the one before David Cameron was, oh, what's his name? He abolished the House of Lords.
Well, who? Was it Gordon Brown? No, it wasn't. Was it a Labour government?
Tony Blair. Tony
Blair.
Abolished, as the CEO, the Prime Minister of the company, yeah, abolished the House of Lords, got rid of them. You're gone. Have a nice day. And replace the House of Lords with the Lord Chief Justice.
Right.
The Supreme Court. Well, the Supreme Court is like 2 steps down from, you know, it's below the acts and statutes, and he's above the acts and statutes. He could do what he likes. He's got complete and full impunity. So they got rid of the House of Lords and replaced it with the Supreme Court. And that's the reference to due to the change in 2003 that the Lord Chief Justice, Sir Jack Beatson, is referencing to. Because they got rid of the House of Lords. Because if you want to pass an act, it's got to go to the House of Lords. And the House of Lords say, well, no, we don't like that, and throw it back again. And it's a constant ping-pong back and forth between the House of Lords and the House of Commons.
So clearly they were just trying to gain absolute power somewhere along the line. They were trying to get dictatorial power.
Get rid of the House of Lords, you get rid of the ping-pong. As soon as you've written up your acts, that's it. It's there. And there's no ping-pong back and forth with the House of Lords.
Just going back a little bit, because I think I missed something. Obviously, you went right down that rabbit hole and you really got them with this affidavit. They kind of got their back on you, didn't they?
They what?
Got their back on you and took your house off you. That was more paid for.
They got back on me.
No. Sorry, you probably can't hear me very well. They took your house off you.
Oh yeah, they stole my house.
So how did they manage to do that if it was mortgaged and paid for?
Well, that's just
how did they do that?
There's no mortgage on my house.
How did they do that? I don't understand.
Well, it was completely criminal. It's okay. In the court procedure rules, where an application is made by a bank, there is court procedure rules that are written by a guy called Mike Gove. Mike Gove is an MP. Okay, so he writes court procedure rules for that particular situation where a bank has made an application for the repossession of a home, and those court procedure rules do not allow me to challenge that claim.
Hold on. So what led up to this? So was it after 2015? Was it after you sent this affidavit?
Oh yeah. I mean, that was 2017 when
what led up to that? I mean, on what premise did they write to you or back you into a corner? I don't understand the logic of how they managed to do that. On what grounds did they try and do that to you?
Right, you want the full economics and blow by blow account of
just very in a nutshell if you can.
Yeah, everyone wants 10 gallons in an egg cut, and it just can't be done, you know.
Okay.
The house was paid. There was no mortgage. The most Right, a mortgage is where you've got a bank loan. The house was only 20 grand when I bought the house, okay? It was 21,000. It doesn't matter. So before you can actually get that money, the loan, you've got to agree to mortgage the house.
That's
to
right.
the bank, yeah?
Yeah.
So the bank is the bank has an interest in that asset until you paid it all back.
Yeah.
Right. It's a 25-year term. So after the 25-year term, there is no more mortgage. The mortgage where the bank has got an interest in that property, whether it's paid back in full or not, is irrelevant. That loan is now an unsecured loan with a mortgage.
Right, forget it.
Right. So you cannot, once the mortgage is expired, even if there is something outstanding, yeah, once the mortgage is expired, they cannot, therefore, make an application for repossession under the mortgaged house because the mortgage is expired by 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So was there some outstanding? Yes, there was, £5,000. And it was an endowment mortgage.
Okay, I remember those.
Yeah, remember the endowments?
Yeah.
I wanted to change that endowment to a repayment mortgage for the full 25 years after I discovered that these endowments are not going to hold up. You know, there's going to be a shortfall, yeah? But I never got that financial opportunity to do it, so I had to let it go full term. Now, if you look on the endowment paperwork, now the endowment's paid in full as well. You know, if the mortgage has come to term, all the interest has been paid for the full 25 years, the endowment has come to term, so that's fully paid, and it's actually insured by Prudential. They are the backers. So I paid the premiums on that endowment, and it's insured. So if there's any shortfall, that shortfall is insured. So if there's a £5,000 shortfall, it's insured. So it's not a problem. Happy days. Gigglies. But when you come to redeem the endowment, they want you or me to indemnify them for their losses. All of their losses, any of the losses that they do not quantify what them losses are. But you've got to sign this document to indemnify them, which means I'm going to take the financial hit on them. Now, how do you make criminals not be criminals?
You can't.
You can't. The fact is, you're getting screwed. So yeah, there was a shortfall on the house by £5,000. And the endowment, I've still got the endowment because it's not been paid. But I'm still paying the interest. We are still paying the interest. And as long as we're paying the interest on that mortgage, they cannot repossess that house.
Right. Right.
So how can you do a repossession of a mortgage house when the house is not got a mortgage on it? You can't.
You can't.
And you can't do a repossession on a mortgaged house with no mortgage when you're still paying the goddamn interest.
No, exactly.
Right, you can't. It's illegal. It's criminal. So how does a government, which is Warrington Borough Council, get round that? They tell the bank to do a repossession anyway, because they implement the court procedure rules written by Mike Gold that do not allow me to challenge the veracity of the claim. So the judge is blind, deaf and dumb. He's a rubber stamping monkey.
Absolutely.
Me and Pete McDowell did a full root cause analysis on that. I don't know, 2015, 2014, with another guy that was having a house repossessed. So we looked up the court procedure rules implemented at his mortgage repossession hearing. So he looked up and found that Mike Gove court procedure rules where we cannot challenge in any way. Now, the application made by Santander's law firm, Hamlings LLP, actually said on it that there was no interest on the arrears. Well, one of the questions that a repossession mortgage is there a mortgage? No, Your Honour. Is there any arrears on a mortgage? No, Your Honour, it says so in your document. So why can't the judge see that? Why can't he see his own paperwork? Because the Microgrove court procedure rules does not allow the judge to see the paperwork.
No.
He's a rubber stamping monkey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the government, which is Warrington Borough Council, for the non-payment of council tax, which I do not have an obligation to pay, stole my house. That is stolen by force. That is stolen by fraud. That is outright criminal.
You've got that on video, haven't you?
No, that was a different video. That was.
Is that different? Oh, okay. I've seen some of your videos on YouTube.
There was a video of a bailiff. Yeah, that was a fun day.
Yeah, but they have no. You've got something in here about bailiffs. I'm sure you have. I read it. I read it the other day. I highlighted it that they do not have the right. They haven't got the right of access to your property either. But,
no,
I mean,
got right of access to your property at any time unless you will agree to let them in.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's in.
Kind of reading the affidavit to today, because this is what's going to help people understand all the crap that's going on with the government right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the link to this. You've got a group on Facebook, so I'm going to put the link in the description below to the Facebook group, and people need to download this affidavit and understand it. And how do people need to use this? What advice can you give on people on how to use this to their favour? Because I'm all about, at the moment, what my thing is finding solutions to reclaiming our sovereignty as men and women. Because we are completely deceived, not only by the government, but the banking fraud. I mean, there's all kinds of fraud and deception all around us, basically. And it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in. But when people are coming at you with the possibility of, well, it's not even a possibility, the vaccines and obviously the tests and everything, how will something like this help the general public?
Because the COVID-19 2020 Act went in the bin on the 29th of May 2013 with the other 8 million acts and statutes. These people have got no authority. That's what that document does from now into the future.
How do we challenge, okay, so we send this to the 657 MPs once we understand it, because obviously if somebody doesn't understand this, there's no point, is there?
Who are we sending it to? If they don't understand it, that's not your problem. That's not my problem.
Oh, no, I meant, okay, so if, let's just say someone's watching this video, they're liking what they hear, they go to your Facebook group, they download the affidavit, but they don't understand it. You can't send something off to 657 MPs if you don't understand, should you? No,
I would not advocate for anyone to do anything if they do not fully comprehend and understand what they're doing, because this is serious stuff. You know, I compiled the affidavit over a series of months. It didn't happen in one day. You know, you can read it in a day, but that took me between winning the case and actually compiling and serving that affidavit on the 657 MPs, there's a 2-year gap there. There's a 2-year gap there for a reason. This head's gone back into study mode. I'm finding out what I need to find out. I'm putting specific things, exhibits in that affidavit for a reason. And everything that's in that affidavit is there for a reason. Now, I could have added a lot more. But, you know, this thing's getting big and it's getting long. Yeah? 65 pages is 65 pages. Well, it's 63 pages. Because the cover is a declaration to make it public. You know, it's like the town crier. Oh yay, ring the bell. You know, that's a declaration. So, and that declaration makes that affidavit public for everybody. So that first couple of pages is the declaration. The affidavit itself starts 3rd page in or something.
Yeah.
It's only 63 pages or whatever.
62.
But everything that's in that affidavit is there for explicit reason. So, and it's got an exact function, like an Englishman's home, which is castle. That's ancient English law doctrine.
Yeah.
You cannot come past my boundary without my invitation, without the RSVP. Respondez, s'il vous plaît. Because if you do, that's an act of war. And I dug out the case law where some woman had smashed some bailiff over the head because he was trying to push his way in, and it went to court, and the case got thrown out because the bailiff does not have rights of access.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I put that case law in, so there is 657 agreements to that case law. Where prior to that, it's just case law.
So what I'm trying to get at is, let me just try and order my thinking. So at the moment, we've got all of this, you know, 100, they want to do 10 million tests a day or whatever I've read recently on the internet. How do we stand up for ourselves? So say if we've sent this off to the 657 MPs, you wait the 28 days, it's unrebutted, there's a longer process, is there not?
Right, that affidavit is now a formal and agreed foundation in facts.
Okay.
There's 657 agreements.
Okay.
And that's the whole of the UK government.
So what happens after the 28 days? So you send this out, so we understand that, hey, MP, hey, Bojo and co, you've got no rights to govern me, I haven't given you my consent, and you send this off, you wait the 28 days, then what happens next after that?
Well, that's it. They do not respond. And when they've not responded, when they've not redressed, when they've not proven me wrong in any parts of that affidavit, they've legally agreed to it. That is a legal agreement.
Okay.
That is the legal function of an affidavit.
Okay.
An affidavit is a sworn statement on the penalty of perjury, under penalty of perjury and full commercial liability. That's what an affidavit statement of facts is. Yeah. So if you get it wrong, if you make a mistake, it will come back and bite you on the ass. It will come back and bite you on the ass. Now, if you send your affidavit to 657 MPs, you've got access to the best of the best barristers and judges on the planet, and you get it wrong, you're going to jail. You're going to jail for a very long time. You're going to jail for 7 to 10 years, or the latter where there is multiple instances of. So it's 657 times 10 years, which is 6,570 years in jail. Throw away the goddamn key. This is serious stuff, not play school.
So how do you stand up for yourself with one of these? So let's just have sent it out. So the hypothetical situation for the people watching, you send this out, someone knocks on your door because they want to give you a vaccine, just hypothetical situation. What would you say? What would you say?
Well, they've knocked on the door. First of all, I wouldn't answer the door. I want a piece of paper. I want a piece of paper claim saying that I've got to do something. Like the traffic ticket, that's a piece of paper claim. Like Warrington Borough Council claiming that I owe them council tax, that's a piece of paper claim. I've got a piece of paper with a signature on it most of the time. Okay? Once I've got that piece of paper, then you implement what's called a maxim. A maxim is a maxim. People say it's a maxim in law, but it's not a maxim in law because there is no law. No one's agreed to what the law is. So it's a maxim in fact. It's something that you cannot dispute. The sky is up, rain is wet. You cannot dispute these.
No, you can't.
Right. So the maxim states that he who makes a claim carries the obligation to present the material substance of the claim. So if someone's making a claim under the COVID Act 2020, they're making a claim under an act. And the claimant has an obligation, now that's a contractual obligation, to present the current day 67.5 million signed and legal consents agreements. Right. Failure to present this material evidence in the next 7 days will enter Mr. Shitface into a lasting and binding agreement to the following effect. That there is a lasting and binding agreement between Mr. David Ward and Mr. Shitface in his office. That Mr. Shitface has formally agreed that the claim being made under the COVID-19 2020 Act is fraudulent in nature, which is fraud by misrepresentation and carries a term of incarceration of 7 to 10 years, and the latter where there is multiple instances of, and that there is a formal and binding agreement between Mr. David Ward and Mr. Shitface in his office, that Mr. Shitface in his office will stand for commercial charges to the same degree. Now you've got the claimants, for whatever claim that is, under whatever act or statute that is, into a lasting and binding agreement where there is a financial charge.
Right.
Because they cannot present the material evidence.
Right.
To support their claim.
Right. All they can use is force.
Yeah. And after that, it gets really interesting.
Really?
Yeah, because it's fraud. Wherever there's fraud, there's malfeasance in the office. So they carry on.
But aren't they committing that already? Aren't they already committing malfeasance in a public office already?
Well, they are committing malfeasance in the office. There's malfeasance, there's misfeasance, there's nonfeasance.
Can you distinguish those? Because I get confused sometimes. What's the difference between malfeasance, misfeasance, and nonfeasance?
Oh, I used to know all this basic. Malfeasance when they've done something deliberately.
Okay.
Misfeasance is where they've done something not deliberately.
Okay.
Nonfeasance is where they've done something not deliberately but with intent.
Okay.
So in no instance, or if you've done something accidentally, which is misfeasance, well, that's a state of ignorance, and ignorance is no defense, so that's malfeasance. So there's only malfeasance.
Yeah, I was going to say that because the police always know what they're doing. It's malfeasance. Always.
Yeah, it's always malfeasance. So as being as they've willfully committed fraud, they've agreed to committing fraud. Part B is that there is a lasting and binding agreement between Mr. David Ward and Mr. Shitface in his office that the above agreed fraud by misrepresentation is also malfeasance in the office, which carries a term of incarceration of 25 years, which is life and is accumulative. And that and there's a lasting and binding agreement between Mr. David Ward and Mr. Shitface in his office to stand for commercial charges to the same degree.
Okay.
Now you've got a double baboon. Now there's going to be a third baboon.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because now you've got fraud and malfeasance, and they're both willful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. That there is a formal and binding agreement between Mr. David Ward and Mr. Shitface in his office that the above two agreed fraud by misrepresentation and malfeasance is a demonstrated intention to cause distress and alarm, which is a recognized willful and belligerent act of terrorism. So now you've got him on an act of terrorism, making a claim under the COVID-19 Act 2020. And that Mr. Shitface has formally agreed to stand for commercial charges to the same degree.
What would you say to anybody, because a lot of people are fearful of the government, aren't they? You're fearful of, what if I send something and they say something, you can get people like that just because they're ignorant. I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just that, people, you're just living your life and then all of a sudden we find ourselves in this, like...
People don't want confrontation.
People don't want confrontation. No, they don't.
No. To be honest with you, people are spineless cowards. They don't want confrontation. They'll do anything not to have that confrontation.
And wear one of these. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll wear one of them. Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
I don't wear one, no way.
No. They just won't have the confrontation. They don't want it. They don't want the bailiff knocking at the door. They don't want to stand there and talk to him. They don't want to do the paperwork. They're too lazy to do the paperwork.
Yeah. Okay. But there's no way around it. You've got to find that person within and just stand up and, well, you've got to stand up for your own bloody life at the moment. And it is life or death, I think. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that.
If you don't do the paperwork, then you're complicit and compliant with the crime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right. Absolutely.
So you're guilty as they are.
Sorry?
So you're as guilty as they are. You're as guilty and as much a criminal as the one committing the fraud, as the one committing the malfeasance, as the one being a willful and belligerent terrorist. If you do not do the paperwork, if you do not actually hold these people accountable, on paper, then you are complicit and compliant and as guilty to the same degree. Now, the fact is this: we've got the case law. That didn't exist for the past 800 years. We've got that affidavit, the 657 agreements. So that is a foundation in agreed facts that removes all fear. They can't move. You've got them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I've done this 38 times. I've done this with judges. If you want to preside, then go ahead. But I'm going to nail you candy ass with this, because you're not a judge, you're a company janitor.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's a place of business. It's a place of business. A court is just a place of business. They're doing business.
So when I back charge a judge, it can be 30 million, 45 million, 60 million.
And that's with your liens, isn't it?
And yet, but I securitize a lien.
Yeah.
So that finished document, and I haven't got one, you know, they're actually...
They're all on your they're on your website. I mean, they're on your proof, aren't they?
You've seen pictures of them, you know, it's a 140-page document. This is a mean piece of kit, yeah? And what document, if it's a 30 million, that's a 30 million pound note. Yeah, 30 million, ready cash, legal tender.
So how do people use this in other countries? I mean, people in America or Australia, God help the people in Victoria, you know, they've got all this, everybody, the playbook is the same in every single country, which means every single country has this, you know, fiction government, the people haven't given their consent. So how do people in other countries, they can't use something from the UK, surely?
Yeah. Have you got any idea how many of them are printed off?
Sorry?
You got any idea how many of those I have printed off? I printed it off by the ream. You get 13 of them to a ream.
You can send this out. You can send this to your government if you're in Australia, for instance.
Yeah, I can send that to Australia.
Oh, really?
I can.
How does that work then? Because I thought this would only apply to the UK because it happened over here.
Well, there is no government anywhere on the planet. There is no borders and boundaries. Right. So there's 657 MPs in the UK claiming that there is a government. Well, that's fraud. So that's 650 times 15 million. That's 9.75 billion in securitized commercial liens. And we've drafted this out. You know, we've got a dedicated group. Instead of people protesting with the yellow vests, why are you going down to London or wherever you are in Paris, France, with your yellow vest at the weekend when the government went home Friday lunch, there's no one there, and then Monday morning you're coming back, you're going home again to pay your tax? Wacko! People are that stupid. There's no government there for you to protest against. They've gone home. The horse has gone. There's no point in shutting the goddamn stable door. You imbeciles. This is how dumb people are. So instead of doing that, why don't we, because all of their emails are published, we can lien them by email. That affidavit, I didn't send off 650 affidavits. I sent it by email as a PDF file. You know, I'm a tech guy. That's the same as proof of delivery with the post office. There's a point of origin and a point of receipt.
Yeah. And
if you don't get a message back from the exchange server saying, we can't find this email address, it's been received. Yeah? So they got it. It's in their inbox. Whether they read it or not is irrelevant. Whether they do something with it or not is irrelevant. They've got it. They've been served. You're done. Now, there is no borders and boundaries on this planet. There is no governments on this planet. There is no countries and states on this planet, because without that signed consent of the government in every country, no borders, no boundaries. So if there's an MP in Australia or America, well, the senators in America, you get there, I can put a lien on this candy ass of 15 million. And we've drafted all these documents out. Copy and paste. Change name. Yeah.
Where do the people go from here then? Because we need to We need to rise up in our millions.
Yeah, you can. Right, now hang on a minute. Think about this. This is right. Let's use a real life situation. Blonde lady, bailiff. Not
Sorry?
very blonde lady. She's a bailiff knocking on my door. Open door. Blonde lady. Yeah, she's a bailiff. So I give it a load of grief. But I took a document. Now I've got a signed document. I'm 3/4 of the way putting a commercial lien on her candy ass. I don't know, but it's going to be above 15 million because there's more than one claim in that document. Yeah. And then a couple of weeks later, she's back at my door. Bang, 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 bang. Blonde lady. I'm saying, you've got this. Blonde lady, you've got this. How fucking stupid are you? Yeah. Now, she's got 2 commercial liens on a candy ass. She quits the job. The traffic warden, I put a £15 million securitised commercial lien on his car. He doesn't know he's a criminal. He's doing his job as a traffic warden. Oh, God, I'm a criminal now. He quits the job. Another blonde lady down in Cornwall, another parking ticket. She quits the job. The bailiffs, they are Mickey Mouse people, don't have the first clue. Oh, my God, I'm a criminal and a terrorist. They quit the job.
Mm-hmm.
People that don't quit the job are the barristers and the judges.
Yeah.
Because they know. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now imagine you're an MP. Well, what's an MP? Well, an MP is a butcher, baker, candlestick maker. They've got fuck all knowledge. They're not trained in law. They don't have a law degree. They're not a barrister, and they're not a judge. They're an ordinary guy. And all of a sudden, you get boom, 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 boom. You get 20, 50, 100 people landing a £15 million security-sized commercial lien on your candy ass because you're a fucking criminal terrorist. What's that MP going to do?
Crap the pants.
Do the pants, quit the job, run away. We can empty Westminster that way if we can get the cooperation of enough people. One guy gets
enough people in your estimation?
Yeah.
How many is enough?
How many will be enough?
Yeah.
Well, if you've got 100 securitised commercial liens for 15 million on your desk in a space of 6 weeks, that's enough.
Oh, that's not many.
100 times 15 million.
No, that's not 100. So that's 100 people sending liens in.
Putting a lien on one MP, yeah.
You wouldn't do it with all 657. You'd pick on one. You pick on your local one. Is that right?
Well, you can do it on any MP because your email address is non-jurisdictional.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, so we can just send them to Matt Hancock and Boris Johnson then.
You can put a lien on the 657 MPs in the UK, and then you'll have 9.5 billion in security-sized commercial instruments, okay, which we will be cashing in soon.
And do you? So that's the next process, obviously, after sending in the affidavit. I've started reading the liens, and I'll be honest with you, David. I understand the affidavit, that's fine, but the liens, I don't 100% understand what it is. And
liens are very complicated, okay? And you know, they're complicated because they are goddamn complicated, yeah? If you're dissecting 800 years of compounded fraud, then untangling that is a nightmare, yeah? So if you look at the different parts of that lien, think of it in its component parts. First of all, there's the affidavit. Well, I never invented an affidavit. Affidavit predates me by millennia. You know, probably goes back to Babylon. I don't know. And then you've got the maxim. You makes a claim. I didn't create that. What other component is there? There's the lien itself. Now, a lien, if say I'm a wood merchant, yeah, businessman. You are a joiner. You make window frames, and I've given you a load of wood, pile of it. Yeah, you cut the wood up, made it into window frames. sold, the window frames have gone, but you've not got paid. So you can't pay me. Yeah? So you agree with me, we agree, that I've got an interest in your assets to that amount, and that is what a lien is for.
Okay.
Right? That
Yeah.
is the function of a lien. There's an agreement to a debt. So I've got an interest in your estate, in your business, in your company, in your house, in your yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I never invented what a lien was. That predates me by hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've never created a securitization for a commercial instrument.
Mm-hmm.
That predates me by 150 years minimum.
Okay.
So you've got all these different components. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've not invented one. Oh, and that's another part that I used, because you've got to justify 15 million against Sarah Pye. She's never going to be worth 15 million. So how do you justify 15 million? Well, then you go biblical. Then you use a biblical context, by the way of the sins of the father to the seventh generation, where they make. I didn't invent that. It was in the fucking Bible. So no component of this have I created, but I've meshed it together in a way that's never been done before.
Right.
You know, I use the case law and the affidavit to charge someone to create a debt,
Mm-hmm.
because fraud is a chargeable criminal offence. So is malfeasance, so is willful and blatant acts of terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've charged them. Now we've got a debt. So the debt has got to be settled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not going to transfer the funds, so you securitize it. No one has done any of that before. If I'd done that at Law University, it would be a PhD with honours. I actually knew a PhD lawyer. His name was Dr. David Williams McHugh.
Mm-hmm.
I actually met him before I won the case. I actually fixed his laptop and built him a website. He actually made me, I got involved with this guy because I'm going behind enemy lines. He doesn't know why I'm going behind enemy lines, but I'm in his office. I'm director of operations in Lawson Benson Williams Law LLP. Ears and eyes open to what is going on. Oh my God, you would not believe, and I'm not going to tell you the stories because we'll be here for hours.
Oh, that's for another day.
It is beyond criminal what goes on in a lawyer's office.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall. I would love to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah. So,
okay.
I'm behind enemy lines, doing research, finding out how the enemy thinks, how they breathe, what they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the work that you do. If you're doing investigations, that's what you do.
Okay.
So that's what I did.
Right, I'm gonna wrap up. Gosh, it's been I think this is the longest interview I've done, actually, but it's been so much worth it. What I'm gonna do is I printed this kind of to a page, but that's only because I needed to get it printed out on less than that's only my own copy though. It's only my own copy. I'm gonna put the group security by way of a lien. That's what it's called, isn't it?
Yeah, security by way of an email.
And there's another group, isn't there? Security by way of an email.
Yeah, there is. It's called Freedom and Justice by way of an email.
Oh, Freedom and Justice. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Put the links to both of those in the description below, and anybody from anywhere around the world can join those groups. Yeah.
Hang on, I've lost you now.
Yeah.
Because I went looking to make sure I got the title right of that Freedom and Justice by way of an email. It was correct.
Anybody listening from anywhere can join those groups. It doesn't matter if they're not UK based, they can still join the group. That's absolutely fine, yeah?
Well, in different countries, you've got to change things. I mean, in America, they've got their constitution.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You never signed the constitution.
No.
Oh, Bill of Rights. Well, you never signed the Bill of Rights either. Therefore, you've not got a Bill of Rights. You've not got a constitution.
Yeah.
It's the same in Canada, and it's the same in Australia. Well, you don't have a constitution because you never signed it. People can't get their head around that.
Yeah.
You don't have a constitution, and it's the same in Ireland. There's a constitution in Ireland. You never signed it.
Yeah.
Therefore, you don't have it.
You've agreed to it. You never agreed to it. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to agree to it. Every time there's a new government, it's got to be signed again.
Yeah.
By everybody in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the veil is being lifted. I mean, I have learned just, my learning is just carrying on and on and on. And I have had a proper education. That's how I feel. This year, I've had a real education. The one that I needed like flipping 30, 40 years ago. I've had one now. But thanks so much for coming on my show today, David. I'll put the details in the link below. If you want to opt into Awakening Nation page, it's awakeningnation.com. There's tons of episodes, so please catch up on those if you haven't already. And once again, thanks, David, for your time. And audience, I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.
It's fun.